Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into a high-stakes strategic briefing, and it's built specifically for those of you stepping into roles like security architects, risk analysts, or IT leaders. We're going to completely unpack a fascinating case study on the Canadian National Insurance Company, or CNIC, as we'll call them. Now, this isn't just some dry theoretical textbook exercise. No, we're taking a detailed look under the hood of a modern, massively digitized enterprise, and we're looking at the very real, looming cyber threats that could literally bring it all crashing down. So if you want to see how enterprise risk management actually works in the trenches, well, you're absolutely in the right place. Let's dive in. Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to hit 1. Welcome to CNIC. 2. CNIC's Digital Fortress. 3. The IT budget and team. 4. 10 major cyber threats. 5. Strategy and risk tolerance. And finally, 6. Your risk assessment mandate.
All right, Section 1, welcome to CNIC. Let's find out exactly whose assets we're trying to protect here.
The sheer scale of this target is frankly staggering. Founded back in 1968, CNIC has exploded into one of Canada's biggest insurers. We're talking about over 3 million clients nationwide, with major regional offices scattered across Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, Calgary, and Halifax. But here's the absolutely crucial detail, the thing we call the vault. CNIC sits on a mountain of highly sensitive data. I mean, we're talking deeply personal, identifiable information, incredibly private medical records, and extensive financial histories. In the cybersecurity world, this data is the ultimate prize. For malicious actors, it's the crown jewels, plain and simple.
Moving right along to Section 2, CNIC's Digital Fortress.
So to actually service those 3 million clients, CNIC had to build this massive, highly interconnected tech stack. It's basically a digital fortress. Let's trace a claims journey to see how this all connects. Step 1 is the multi-channel claim intake. Customers are sending in claims through mobile apps, web portals, or even AI-driven call centers. Then, Step 2, the claim hits an AI-driven assessment system that's directly tied into their CRM, their customer relationship management platform. This AI instantly triages and evaluates the claim. Finally, Step 3 is the actual payout and financial logging, which is managed entirely by their massive SAP ERP system. Now, this is a perfect example of the digital transformation double-edged sword. On one hand, this hybrid cloud setup makes things incredibly fast and seamless for the user. But on the other hand, it creates a ridiculously complex attack surface. Think about it. Every single connection between that mobile app, the cloud-based AI, and the local on-premises servers that legally have to store that sensitive data, every single connection is a potential cracked window for an attacker to slip through.
Which brings us to Section 3, the IT budget and team. Because defending a fortress like this takes some very serious capital. For the 2025 fiscal year, CNS is playing with an IT budget of 315 million Canadian dollars. The lion's share, about 110 million, goes straight into infrastructure and operations. But I really want you to notice that $50 million slice specifically carved out for cybersecurity. $50 million. They aren't just buying off-the-shelf antivirus here. They are heavily funding next-gen firewalls, 24/7 threat monitoring, intense zero-trust architecture research, and continuous penetration testing. Basically, they know they have a target on their backs, and they are spending big to armor up. Of course, all that fancy tech is pretty useless without the right people running it. Out of their $67 million personnel budget, a solid $12 million goes straight to the cyber team. These folks are essentially the human firewall. At the top, you've got the Chief Information Officer, shaping the grand vision. But right alongside them is the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer, who is basically the general commanding the defense. Under them, you've got a Security Operations Center with 8 analysts hunting for anomalies around the clock. You've got an incident response team ready to instantly lock down compromised systems, and penetration testers who literally spend all day hacking their own employer to find the holes before the bad guys do. Let's look at Section 4, 10 major cyber threats. What exactly is this human firewall up against? Based on the briefing documents, CNIC is currently tracking 10 major threat scenarios. We'll start with the first 5, which are your classic external attacks. Picture this. A ransomware syndicate completely encrypts CNIC's primary data centers in Montreal and Calgary. Boom. All claims stop, and they're threatening to leak medical files to the public. Or how about a vendor breach? CNIC's own walls might be high, but what if the third-party company they outsourced claims processing to gets hacked? Then we've got phishing. We're talking highly targeted spear phishing aimed directly at senior executives to snatch their logins and steal corporate strategy.
There are also DDoS attacks that could just totally flood the customer app and portal, causing massive reputational damage. And maybe the scariest one of all, an APT, an advanced persistent threat. That's a highly sophisticated group secretly setting up a backdoor and just quietly siphoning off data for months without anyone even noticing.
Okay, but it's not just shadowy hacker groups we have to worry about. Let's check out the remaining 5 threats. Because honestly, internal vulnerabilities and simple human errors can be just as devastating. Consider an insider threat. Say, a disgruntled IT admin who decides to pack up a bunch of data and sell it on the dark web. Or something as simple as a cloud misconfiguration. An engineer runs a routine update and accidentally leaves a storage bucket with millions of client records totally exposed to the public internet. Then there's the whole BYOD, bring your own device headache, where an employee's personal iPad picks up malware at a coffee shop and then infects the entire corporate network the next morning. There's IoT hijacking. I mean, attackers can literally hack a smart thermostat in a CNI office building and use it as a bridge into the main servers. Wild, right? And lastly, the oldest trick in the book, weak passwords. Even with a $50 million cyber budget, a password like admin123 is basically leaving the front door wide open. Let's move on to Section 5, Strategy and Risk Tolerance. How does CNIC actually handle this strategically? To fight back against those 10 scenarios, CNIC uses a really proactive, multi-layered game plan. The absolute core of it all is a shift toward a zero-trust architecture. And zero trust means exactly what it sounds like. No user, no laptop, and no app is trusted just because it happens to be connected to the office Wi-Fi. Every single action requires continuous authentication. They stack that with intense endpoint security on all devices, relentless penetration testing, mandatory security training so employees stop clicking on phishing links, and a rapid incident response plan that is rehearsed like clockwork.
But here's the thing, your security strategy always comes down to how much risk your organization is actually willing to stomach. And CNIC has a really fascinating metric for this. They have calculated their overall risk tolerance score at precisely 0.34 on a scale of 0 to 1. To put that in perspective, a 0 would mean they are absolutely terrified of risk, to the point of paralyzing the business. A 1 would mean they're basically gambling with no safety net. So landing at a 0.34 tells us that CNIC is by nature a pretty risk-averse organization. And looking at this breakdown really helps us understand their mindset. They've got a super low tolerance for certain things. For instance, messing around with regulatory compliance, like Canada's PIPEDA privacy laws, is an absolute no-go. They also have zero patience for anything that might cause reputational damage or stop their core operations, like claims processing, from running smoothly. But on the flip side, they are actually willing to accept moderate to high risk when it comes to financial exposure for the sake of innovation. They know that if they don't roll the dice a little bit on migrating to the cloud or adopting cutting-edge AI systems, they're going to lose their competitive edge entirely. So it's a very calculated, delicate tightrope they have to walk every single day. And that finally brings us to Section 6, your risk assessment mandate. This is where you come in. The whole reason we're tearing this case study apart is to prepare you to take the wheel. Directly from the source material, your official mandate is this: evaluate cybersecurity risks and develop a strategic cybersecurity action plan for 2025 through 2028. It's on you to take all these puzzle pieces, the hybrid cloud infrastructure, the specific budget constraints, that strict 0.34 risk tolerance, and those 10 terrifying threat scenarios, and use them to build out a rigorous, bulletproof risk assessment. So, I'm going to leave you with one final question to chew on. You've seen the massive scale of the assets, you know exactly what the budget looks like, and you know all the threats lurking out there, from sophisticated ransomware gangs right down to a simple, misconfigured cloud server. Based on everything we've uncovered today, how will you secure CNIC's future? It's time to take these insights, structure your assessment, and build a defense that won't break. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and good luck out there on your mission.